Hi, it's Nick here. If you're a fan of my work, then I know you either like tarot, horror films, or both. My latest project is a tarot deck inspired by Italian Gothic horror films of the 60s and 70s. Referred to as Giallo films, their movie posters were known for their dramatic and bold graphic design choices. I'm bringing that same aesthetic to a new Rider-Waite style tarot deck that I called Tarocchi Gialli, where each card is lovingly crafted to look like a film poster from the era. It's launching on Kickstarter February 19th. To learn more about the project, follow me on Instagram at Chain Assembly or visit www.chainassembly.com. So anyways, that's when I just started stabbing him. So,
Man, he
Eric,
really deserved it.
I think so too. Eric, well, thank you so much for taking some time to talk to me. It has been a while since I've seen you. I know you left the studios at 5663 a while ago.
Couple
And it was probably
months,
an
couple
event
months.
there. So you're the fifth person I've had from that. No, sixth person I've had from that building. So thanks for taking some time to talk to me.
We were a good bunch of folks. I'm still very fond of those guys. But Florida's a sinking ship, and all you rats should get out.
So I take it you're not in the state anymore?
I moved to the Atlanta area. I live in Stone Mountain right now.
Okay, cool. So I remember who I had on podcast before, also from that area, was Robert Rydell and his wife. We were talking about
Mhm.
the book they recently released, and they moved from that studio to Chattanooga, which is probably in your neck of the woods.
I did not realize they were living there now. They were doing all kinds of crazy adventure stuff the last time I spoke to them. I should reach out to Bobby and see if I can't come visit him at some point, because I've been wanting to check out Tennessee, more like Nashville than Chattanooga. But it's certainly a state that I've not explored much, and pretty much anywhere in the South I'm fond of.
Well, when I first left home in Miami, it was to move to Nashville, and I spent a few years there. And at the time, I really loved it. But I've gone back multiple times since, and it is a completely different beast of a city.
I
It
imagine
is,
it is.
yeah, it's become like the Bachelorette capital of the world. It seems. So
Oh,
I mean,
well,
if you're
shit, I need
looking
to
to
go.
pick up
Yeah.
drunk women, it might be the place. But
Well, you know, I'll maybe I'll drive him to AA and then
maybe.
talk to him later. I don't know.
Well, let's start by talking about your art. So I know you're
Hmm.
also a digital artist, primarily. I know
Primarily,
you've done a
yeah.
lot of. So I know very little about you. So I'm going to start with just the stuff that I do know, and I'll let you kind of fill in the blanks. So I know you've done a couple Kickstarters. I know you sell a lot of
Hmm.
stickers. You like to do thick, voluptuous women. Sorry, you like to draw thick, voluptuous women. You like to draw pizza. It is very
Hmm.
tongue in cheek, fun illustrations you do. Nothing crazy serious. Um, and you also do stuff wrestling related, right? Wrestling related
I
art.
I I I soured pretty hard. Not on wrestling. I still spend a lot of my free time, chatting and shit posting about it, but just fan art in general.
Mm.
Um, I became so anti fan art and pro interest in my own brand that it just didn't feel right to keep doing. Um, I mean, whatever. People got to do what they got to do in terms of making a living on art. I don't fault any of my friends, but like we're bootlegging. Like I didn't want to do it. I want to do my own weird shit and make my own IP, and that was why I do the weird thing that I do.
I totally get that. Like I was always kind of dabbling in the fan art stuff just because I
Mhm.
enjoyed making it, but I never really did it with the intent to sell. And when I did my first Comic Con, that really soured me on fan art in general.
Oh yeah,
It's like you
it's
have to
gross.
be either all in or do none of it.
Exactly, and it's just the culture around it's so gross that like I don't know, like it's artists have become like the Walmart for aftermarket um, merch, and like I'm not willing to, I'm not willing to float loans on that and deal with the little teeny boppers looking, like let me get the latest like Spy Family character or whatever. It's just like it's weird, and I don't like it, and I don't want to chase that. Like, let me make something that's personal to me, and if you like it, great. We're friends now. You're a psychopath like I am, and
Well,
that's really all I've been interested in. Like, how can I make the most self-indulgent, fun product to me, and find people that find that also fun?
it's very well said. I'm surprised we got so deep 5 minutes in.
I'm the deepest titty artist that you know.
So, related to that, have you been following the Kat Von D story about her tattoo?
No, I have not. What is
So this
this?
is pretty fascinating. So someone came up to her, paid her to do a tattoo
Hmm.
of inspired by a photo of Miles Davis because this person loves Miles Davis.
Okay.
So she did her own spin on it, made it a little more artsy, and then somewhere down the line, she got sued by the original photographer who took that photo of Miles Davis that the client brought to her to use as a reference for her tattoo.
Wow.
And so this was maybe a week ago, the verdict came in, and I guess not, you wouldn't say not guilty, but she was not liable for
Yeah.
copyright infringement. And I mean, I was following that pretty heavily because if
Hmm.
that means a tattoo artist can't use a reference brought to them by a client, that
Yeah.
means a lot for not just tattoo, but arts industry in general.
The, no, it's there's some interesting murkiness legally on both sides of that. Now, this is like I think about the legal ramifications of images an awful lot. I mean, and technically, if someone takes an illustration that you do or that I do, and they want to get it tattooed, they should pay us for that. Like that's just true. Um, and there is the argument that cat or the person getting the tattoo should pay this photographer or whoever something for the use of that image. But like to sue cat is ridiculous. Like I don't think that's particularly fair. And it like how much is she really making off of tattooing one person? You're not putting
Yeah.
it on a fleet of trucks or printing a million books or something. You're tattooing one human being, right?
Yeah, it definitely seemed like it was them thinking, "Oh, Kat Von D has money. Let's see what I can get out of her."
Exactly. It
But
was
like,
it feels rent seeking to me.
if it was something that if it had gone the other way,
Mm,
imagine what Disney would do because
mm.
everybody gets Disney tattoos. My wife has a Disney tattoo. So many people make money doing Disney tattoos, copying Disney art. At Disney, they're always vehemently protecting their IP. So that would have been weird to see that transition.
They are pretty aggressive. There was the infamous story about how they went after like daycare centers in
Yeah.
Florida or wherever in Florida it
Mhm.
was that had Disney characters like bootleg painted on
Right.
the outside wall. Like they're very protective of their IP, but like I don't know. Like I get it. Copyright law is a mess, and it is very much a double edged sword. And as creatives, we need it
Mhm.
as much as we can get burned by it. Like it's kind of like a lot of this stuff, like when we going back to fan art and bootlegging, it's basically a gray area that they could shut every one of us making it down, but they just don't, because it's legally very onerous to go around
Hmm.
and chase down all this stuff and annoy all these people and send DMCA's. It costs money and there's no return on it for almost all of it. So like, what do?
Well,
You just sort of let the 19-year-old artists sell their silly fan art of whatever in the fuck.
I actually just recently trademarked chain assembly, and that
Hmm.
was such
Mazel
a
tov.
hassle.
Oh,
Just
I'm
a
sure.
hassle to get through. Have you tried anything like that?
I haven't messed around with it much. I took a business course back at St. Pete Community College, like maybe in 2019 or 2020. Um, they talked about that sort of thing, but I
Hmm.
feel like in a lot of ways it doesn't really offer me a lot of protection.
Right.
Um, I'm looking to ramp up some things, but not that. I probably will have to file claims for the trademarks and the various things I want to do to go to the market, like the logo that I use and things like that. It's a good idea, but it's like you said, it could be a massive pain in the ass. You get a lawyer involved, several whole ass adults you have to get involved to
Well, I
figure this
did it
shit
without
out.
a lawyer, and that's probably what the nightmare was. Just the website
Mm,
is designed in a way that you want to cry and pull your hair out. It's the smallest font. There's like no
mm.
spacing. They do not hire interface designers to put together the government websites. It
Yeah,
is
it's definitely
so
it's definitely not for us creative types.
but like it ended up becoming kind of worth it, I feel like, because the way it's designed is you pay a fee per category, and within that
Mm,
category there's tons of subcategories that you also get protected. So I
mm.
ended up selecting the printing category, because that includes adult coloring books, stickers, digital prints, art prints, kids coloring books, scorecards, golf books, graphic novels. Like all of those things are covered in the printing industry. And I thought that really made sense to now consider Chain Assembly a printing company, I guess.
It does seem
But anyways,
to line up with the way I've seen you go to market, so that does make sense. Yeah.
well, let's kind of talk about your art style and how you present yourself at a market. So, what these days? What are you working on?
Gosh, I have a lot of projects and I'm juggling a lot of things at the moment. I'm also, I'm coming off of a long period of, struggling with a lot of things, obviously moving,
Mhm.
obviously like some pretty serious health scares that I'm coming off of and, thankfully getting a lot better. So like
Good.
working consistently is a little challenging, but I mean, I do have two large scale paintings that I'm working on. I have two Kickstarters that I want to do this year that all the work is basically done for.
Mm.
Although I do want to create some additional content for some stretch goals. Um, one of them is a uh, a couple of posters that I've designed that I'm going to be working on with Mike Toth of St. Petersburg. He does
Hmm.
alleyway screen print. Solid dude. If you don't know him, a
Yeah, I know
massively
Mike.
talented printer
He's
and
in my
artist.
neighborhood. We're both in the
A lovely
artist
guy.
enclave.
Yeah, he's a lovely guy. Super
Mhm.
talented dude. And I need to get back in touch with him about printing those two things. But primarily, I want to have them done and have the Kickstarter fulfilled because I just got accepted to like my first big travel convention.
Mhm.
It used to be called Waifu Expo, which that got my attention. But it is called Kimuchi Con, and it is in Dallas. So I'm nervous and very excited about taking a big risk like that because obviously, if I can, going from Tampa to Orlando to drive and do a show is one thing. Doing a show in Tampa when I live in St. Petersburg is one thing. But going all the way to Texas to do a show, all of a sudden you've got a lot more overhead, and you've got
Right.
it's on a completely different level.
Well, what's your
When you're
plan? Are you
part
going
of
to
it.
drive or fly?
I'm probably going to fly, which that's a big cost. I'm very fortunate, and one of the reasons I applied is I have some folks that'll put me up, so I don't have to like
Mm-hmm.
sleep in the street or in a rental car,
Mm-hmm.
or because I'm certainly not one of these guys that's making $10,000 or $15,000 a show. It would be really great. Maybe one day we'll get there, but for me, it's still a slog, and it doesn't help that I refuse to compromise on building my own brand, which is considerably harder than doing a bunch of fucking fan art.
Right. So the 2 episodes ago, I had a conversation with Zach Goins, who does a lot of conventions, gaming
Mm-hmm.
conventions, and we had a really
Mm-hmm.
good conversation about like the value of going to something like PAX East versus
Mm-hmm.
going to like your friendly local neighborhood show. And it's like, even though one might have 20
Mm-hmm.
times the amount of attendees, your overhead's going to be a lot higher because you're staying in a
Yeah.
hotel, you're renting a car, you're doing all this stuff. So he says that he usually gets his biggest margins from large, relatively local shows. Something
Yes.
that he can drive to every day. So
Yes, and I find that I want to do travel shows because I want to travel, and one of my goals is to um, use selling art as a vehicle for going around the world. Like I want to sell art in the UK or Ireland or Germany or the Netherlands or like Japan is really the big one. Like I had my friend Ben who does Central Florida Comic Con is like, dude, you need to do Comic Cat, and like that's very exciting thinking about doing Comic Cat. And going to Japan and being bad at speaking Japanese with real native speakers. But really, it does seem like the money is made in the places where it's the least struggle, and you do need like a base of places to sell rather than. I mean, I don't know. You have to be a big name, and people need to be coming for you. I think if you're going to a lot of these shows and really making a killing, like people are showing up for Adam Hughes or whoever in the hell. They're no one is showing up for me. I have to make the impression right there and then. But it is, I think, important to build an audience outside your initial circles, and I think social media limits us in a lot of ways. I think that it's definitely getting worse and definitely getting more toxic. I have not shared a lot to Instagram for that very reason. I'm disenchanted with a lot of it, but I am not disenchanted with going to good shows and meeting good people.
So I get what you're saying. Like social media kind of started with the idea of you're going to see what your friends are up to. And then
Mm.
it became, we're going to develop algorithms to gatekeep what you get to see.
Yes.
And
Well,
now that we
even beyond
control what
that,
you,
it's
yeah.
a model that like we exist for them. That
Mm.
when Rupert Murdoch bought MySpace, it was the idea of MySpace was sold to him as, here is a thing where your users will generate you content for free that you can monetize with advertising. And that is the model that everything is. That's what Facebook is. That's what Instagram is. We are the product.
Well, I mean, I've
We
been
are
on
the
the other side of
product,
that,
and
and
we're the advertiser eyeballs.
I've been on the other side of that, and I don't necessarily hate that
Mm-hmm.
it it's delivering ads that are more relevant to you.
Mm-hmm.
And for example, just a few days ago, I ran ads on Reddit for the first time, and I really liked that I could choose specific Reddit groups to
Yeah.
post my ad in. And when that ad shows up, people are actually, it shows up as a post. So people are actually commenting on it and then I can
Mm-hmm.
comment back with them, and I get to start a dialogue in a way that I can't do on an Instagram ad, a Facebook ad.
Yeah.
I mean, I know Reddit is its own problem as a universe, but
It has its own problems, but I think it's significantly less toxic.
yeah.
Like Facebook is just very omnipresent, and it's not necessarily about communities. And I think that it pushes people apart and hurts people more than the good that it does in society. But
Yeah.
like at least for me, yeah, they have a monopoly on all of my friend groups. You know, I don't have friends on Instagram. My friends are on Instagram, but I have whole like massive conversations and backlogs with folks on Facebook. You know, Reddit is more that kind of thing, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I like it because it is inherently community based. I think that's a cool thing.
Well, taking a bit back to conventions,
Mm.
farthest I've gone was Origins back in 2021, 2022. I vended there. They had this like special area for the entrepreneurs. It's like if it's your first time
Mm.
vending there, you get half off on your booth fee. So it was absolutely worth it at the time. And I drove from St. Petersburg to Columbus, Ohio, and back. Had a
Ooh, that's
wonderful
brutal.
time. Oh, I enjoyed I like road tripping with the wife, so we had a good time.
I do too, but I'm worried that my old car would explode at this point. I've been, yeah.
But like, I definitely overestimated how much I would sell. I
Mm.
packed way more than I needed to. I also didn't consider the fact
Yes.
that I'd be buying a shit ton of board games as a business expense and then bringing them back. So, like, if I were to do it again, I would pack half as much, but I still made plenty of profit to cover the
Okay.
hotel as well as all the money I spent there. And more than just that, as a convention, I did a lot of networking and met with
Yes.
people who I've had on the
Yes.
podcast and been able to do business deals with and expand my connection through. So if you're thinking of it as,
Loads of the people that
yeah,
I meet at these things are, you know, like bar nothing. They're just friends, you know, like they understand the difficulties of that kind of carny lifestyle, and they, you know, they get it. Like you have a connection with these people almost immediately. So like someone that is just happens to be next to you in a booth, you know, they might end up being the best man at your wedding years down the road. Like that's just, it's just wild how the culture works. Like people are the people that vend at these things are pretty consistently some of the best people I ever meet. They're lovely.
well, okay, so let's talk a bit about then looking at Eric Z. Goodnight
Mm,
Incorporated, LLC, whatever you are, the pie
mm.
chart of your business income. What percentage comes from events, pop up events, local markets, conventions, whatever?
Almost all of it, I would say.
Okay.
I don't really chase online. It's been pretty mid. Um, I do a fair amount of sales on Facebook when I'm chasing it. Um,
What about commissions?
Commissions I've been avoiding, but I think commissions are going to be big for me this year. I'm actually working on a really cool project for a friend of
Hmm.
mine that I want to do more of. So I'm getting very big into the retro gaming scene. I like it very much. Like in my I write articles for retrorgb.com as well. So
Hmm.
like I really like the tech and the subculture a lot. But a friend of mine, he's part of these guys in St. Pete that they restore arcade cabinets. And he has one, and he came to me and he's like, I want a bunch of goofy, sexy titty girls on this, and he was willing to put his money where his mouth is. I'm like, you know, the way that I would want to do this, I'm going to require X and X amount, and he was super cool about it. He didn't balk. He did say, "Do you want to trade for some game equipment?" And I'm like, "No, man, I have to pay for the repairs on this damn house now. I need the cash." But I would like to do more of that in the future, just because I think retro gamers and like pinball nerds are like really rad, and I like it's a big part of my origin story as an artist is like looking at video game art. So like I feel like I have a good knack for like recreating those looks and making graphics that have that kind of pop. It would be a thing that I would love to have a book of business of that for this year. But it would be nice if it was 50-50 this year for commissions and shows. But so far, shows are shaping up slow. I've only just recently added 2 that I want to do, one locally and the one Kimochi-Con that accepted me recently. But I'm going to try for a few. Unfortunately, my favorite kind of cons are game conventions because I love the culture, but a lot of the organizers are very confused about what I do when I'm not just doing Street Fighter fan art or just stealing IP. Like they're confused because I'm making an original product and it's a little bit more adult oriented, even though like nearly everything I sell is very PG-13.
So yeah, I've definitely learned that if it's a Comic-Con or an anime convention, people want to buy shit they recognize. If it is like
they're the worst buyers, I don't like doing Comic Cons anymore because it used to be passionate, interesting people that were interested for the culture, and now it's just people that want to buy shit with the Joker and Harley Quinn on it. Like they're the worst, most boring people.
And so I've noticed like you have a better chance with original ideas at a board game convention or a horror convention. And I think part of it too.
Spooky Empire, and did you do either of those?
No, I've been really wanting to do Spooky Empire. I used to go all the time when I was younger. When it was Screamfest, I went to Screamfest 1 through 6 back in just in my college years. So I've been wanting to check it out.
It was a decent experience. I would say both of them. It was very hard on me traveling to Florida to do 2 shows last year, especially like 1 month on from moving to fucking Georgia. Like that was a really rough end of my 2023. I ended up doing like 6 round trips with all the moving and everything from basically from St. Pete to Atlanta. It was really awful. But gosh, where were we? We were talking about spooky. Yeah. But it just basically the thing that I find is the less mainstream the culture around the con is, the more people are interested in a new idea, because they're there for the culture. They're interesting people that are thoughtful, and they're not there to get Daryl from Walking Dead's signature. They're not there for the most boring possible reasons.
I think it's partly an age thing. Like if you go to a Comic-Con or an anime con, it's young kids, and young kids are all about discovering things that exist. And being like finding their community with things that are already popular. I think older people have already seen that, and they're really trying to discover something new. So that's, again, I've done no research in this, but I just feel like,
I think you have something there, but at least when I discount the kids at anime cons, they're looking for fandom. They're looking to fit in. But they also only have 3 nickels in their pocket. They ain't really walking around, and they're not going to buy a $300 or $500 canvas print from me. They're not too interested in that. They want something cheap. Which is fine. Sell them something cheap, but
I consider myself a little bit lucky because I have been exploring the tarot and divination space. So I've been able to sell decently at metaphysical events, which happen regularly. And in those situations, I really stand out because I'm not, waving chimes over people as they lay on a massage table. I'm selling original tarot decks, and it's like, hey, come meet the guy who drew the shit. And
I have to admit, like, thinking on your art, I would have not, before you started doing it, I would have never recommended for you to start doing that. But I have to admit, every time you've stepped up and done it, it's been a home run. Like, I have
thank you.
been, I very well, I don't want to say jealous because, there's an element of haterism in that. But, like I've definitely admired the success you've had in realms like that. I think that it's been really well deserved. You've been very smart and very calculated about a lot of the things that you've done. It's been very admirable.
Well, thank you. To be totally honest, the original tarot deck started because the pandemic began, and I didn't want to not know what to draw. So I figure if I'm going to start a big project where I have to do 78 original illustrations, I can force myself to do that. And then I don't need to stare at a blank screen wondering what to do, and I wouldn't waste the time because I have an exact plan of what I need to do. And on top of that, I thought building a tarot deck would be an easy stepping stone into more complex things like board games, which I really wanted to do. And I just enjoyed the process of creating the tarot deck, building a physical product, making 3D mock-ups, working with the manufacturers in China, that I got hooked on that process, no matter if it's a board game or a tarot deck. I just enjoy every step of that. So that's kind of how I've ended up in that world. It wasn't because I have a desire to create a tarot deck.
Well, I mean, making anything is really cool. It's a thing. Are you, Jake Parker, I think, was the person who said this advice. He's the guy who created Inktober a gajillion years ago. But his philosophy was, I think it was, you don't need a project, you need a product. And I think, capitalism is what it is, whatever, it's fine. But I do think that there is something, at least, that's worked really well for me in terms of thinking about that person who is going to buy this and how I can make something fun and relevant to them. And how I can turn it into, like, take a dumb, silly, fun illustration and make it into a thing that fits into someone's life. That is a mindset that helps me a lot. It helps me get a lot more work done, and it helps me be kind of happier with the things that I make, even though, like, I don't know, like I make a bunch of shit that's just like so stupid and self-indulgent, like it's just, here's a mashup of 3 incredibly stupid ideas and I make it into a really goofy illustration. And, like, I don't know, people that like me like it, but it's like, what the fuck do I do with this?
Well,
but it helps me to find an application for it, to find that product and that end goal. And, having lists of things like you're describing with the tarot, having that boom, 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 boom list of stuff like that mentality, I think, is really helpful. It's certainly done me a lot of good.
Well, I definitely see what you're saying about think of a product, not a project. And that's something I've absolutely, I've started to understand more about myself as a process of doing this podcast, is because I'm a digital artist. You're a digital artist. I mean, you said you're working on some large paintings, but as a digital artist, you often do a piece and you're like, now what? If you're a painter or a sculptor, it's a thing. It's a thing. Yeah. So as a digital artist, seeing a physical product from the hours I put into drawing on a screen, it's just a feeling that, like, I don't know. I don't know. It's a feeling.
It's
it gives
realizing
you the feels.
all the hours that you put into it. Like, I can make a dumb illustration and, like, it's a dumb thing that's imaginary that's in my screen, but I make a canvas print out of it. And I'm like, whoa, holy shit. It's like completely different. I will say one thing that I'm excited about doing more of is I got a Black Friday super high-end photo printer. Holy shit, this stuff makes my work look so good.
Oh yeah,
Holy
what'd you get? I also got myself a really good one on Black Friday.
Oh yeah. It was the one of the Canon Pixmas, one of the higher end ones. It was like $200 off. And I could have done without it, but, like, to own the supply chain, to own the manufacturing process. That can
Yeah.
be huge. Like, I don't know that I necessarily want to start stretching my own canvases or whatever. I'm happy to have business partners that take care of stuff for me. But, like, to be able to print stuff on demand and do all these little shows and find an opportunity at the last minute and make a bunch of product, like, that's awesome, and I'm also very good at printing things with my long background in print, so I can make my work look really good.
So I bought the Image Prograph 1000. No, sorry, the Canon Image Graph Pro 1000,
Okay.
it's also Canon. It's not the Pixma, but it is it prints up to 17 by 22,
Oh, that's
and
beautiful. That's so
it's so
good.
good. It's so good. And so I did a couple prints last week of cards from the new tarot deck that I'm working on at size 12 by 18. So they're pretty big ass prints, and they
Yeah.
look so nice. So I
It's
also
so fun.
bought
It's so cool
I
seeing
bought
that
mats
stuff.
and sleeves. I've got Local Topia this weekend, which is a huge event in St. Pete. And
Oh
so I
yeah.
got these giant prints I'm selling for $50 each. I'm really looking forward to that. And they look so good.
I hope you crush it.
Thank you.
I never really liked doing that event. It never really worked out so well for me. I don't know. I hope you smash it. That's really cool.
Thank you. So one thing that I got noticed too about the printer is the software that Canon makes. For some reason, it's just broken. I can't open it on my computer, and everyone's complaining about how it just doesn't work. So I bought a
wouldn't
different
trust it.
software. Yeah.
Yeah,
So I bought a
wouldn't trust
third-party
it.
software called QImage One that everybody swears by, and I've had no trouble with it. It's really
What are
nice.
you doing with it?
So because you can print 17 by 22, I can put a 17 by 22 paper in there, and it helps me like fill that page with different prints.
Oh, that's interesting. That's
Yeah.
really interesting. Okay. I mean, I would
Yeah.
just do it. I would just do it in like Illustrator or something. I don't know. Like I would, at least for me, like this is I feel like technology keeps trying to reinvent the hammer every year. Most of this stuff with printers and profiles and things like that, this was all solved decades ago, and Adobe still does it as good as anybody. So I just print everything from Photoshop,
I
and I
probably,
use the
yeah.
profile that I like, and I adjust my levels, and it's all really easy, and it comes out beautiful. But like whatever, like everybody can use whatever tool suits them.
I probably could do it with Illustrator, but I've been enjoying the software because it knows what printer type is in there,
Yeah,
and it mirrors what it's going to look like on my monitor.
yeah.
So I can do adjustments from there. And but yeah, I probably should just try Illustrator. I'm just always
I
kind of
think
scared printing out of
they all like
Illustrator.
they use like you can load a profile for the paper that you're using, and you let Photoshop manage colors, and there's less guesswork, and that's the main thing. Like, and I think there is some trial and error science that you need to do to dial it in, but I just find like there's a specific adjustment I make to my midtones, and I use the luster paper profile for the paper that I use, and it looks like the color fidelity is perfect. Like it's so on point, it's ridiculous. Like I've never seen a print that dead on printed anywhere. The colors are just exactly what I expected them to be. And I'm working with a fucking RGB file too. Like I feel like it's honestly insane to work with CMYK. Do you paint in CMYK?
It's funny you bring that up because since I started doing prints myself, I've noticed that my RGB files look a lot better than my CMYK files.
I mean, obviously I've worked in the print industry and stuff like this, and this is a thing I feel passionately about. But like I've read a really great book about it, and you think about like what these printers are made for. They are made for reproducing photographs, and there ain't a camera on Earth that takes CMYK pictures. you know? And if there is, it's a piece of shit and it shouldn't exist. Like, it's stupid. Like, light exists in RGB. The thing that they say is, you know, there you have RGB and CMYK. Man made one and God made the other. Which one do you want to use? And
It's
I
funny.
make all my shit in RGB.
Yeah, like, so I feel like maybe if you're printing photographs, CMYK might make sense. But if you're doing illustrations, you're going to be using crazy ass colors.
My
But I don't know.
whole thought process is CMYK is an uglier, bad color space, and even, I mean, especially nowadays, like
Yeah,
the
everything looks
printers that
muddy in
you and
it.
I both have are like they're 8 cartridge printers or something at least.
Mine's got like 14. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and that's even better because
Yeah.
all it's doing is it's making that color. I don't know if we're recording video or right now or what I'm doing.
Yeah,
Hand
we are.
gestures. The color gamut, the color space is just bigger in RGB.
Mm-hmm.
And CMYK, it's uglier, it's smaller, and these printers are trying to expand that color space, you know, and to recreate RGB color. So why the fuck would you why would you hinder yourself and work with CMYK color? Like if you're like, I have friends who they work in the comic industry and they're doing stuff that is going to be digital and for print, and it needs to look roughly the same in both circumstances. Like, I understand painting in CMYK, but it still just makes me feel, it's just gross. It feels bad. You know, like I understand why you would want to work around a certain color space and not go beyond that. But like for what we're doing, you know, where we control what we're making, and we're proofing it ourselves, and we're working directly with printers. No, why would you make anything? It's just so insane to me.
Well,
I don't
the
know. I
files
think
that
about this shit a lot. Like, I'm just a nerd about it.
well, the files that I do deliver to like the manufacturers in China, those I do CMYK because their machines are 4C, 4-color machines where they have like the giant
Yes.
cyan roller, the yellow roller, the magenta roller, the black roller. So if I need them to replicate what I'm seeing on the screen, then that makes the most sense.
It
Their
does make
machines.
sense, especially if they're asking for it to be delivered that way. But you're kind of putting part of, like, there's a little bit of a letdown process, you know, between every part of the, you know, like, you have it in your mind for the way it's supposed to look, and then it is the way that it is on the screen, and then you proof it, and it is the way that it is on the proof, and then, you know, but like kind of converting it or making it in CMYK, you're kind of pre-letting yourself down, you know, and I kind of feel like I think it's better to start with everything and cut down, you know, rather than starting in
with
the
less
smaller space or cutting it down yourself in the smaller space. But I think that it's still logical, especially if they ask you for a CMYK file, you know, like if they just ask you for it, then you can't talk them out of it.
So going back into using your art to create a product, what are some of the products you have made in the past, and what are the products you're looking to make in the future?
Gosh, you know, the thing that I wish was more viable, because I love the culture and I love the people that collect this stuff, is the screen print posters. You know, I have 2 designed, like I mentioned earlier, that I'm going to do with Mike a little bit later this year. Hopefully very soon. I wish that could be more of a thing. I did a series of risograph prints, working with Caitlin Crockett at Print St. Pete.
I did too. I got risograph prints from her.
Done pretty well. Do what?
So I also got risograph prints done by Caitlin at Print St. Pete, and I absolutely love them. I got 100 of them made, and I've only sold like 14. So I'm disappointed that they don't move, but
mine have sold relatively well, and I think that it's just the strength of the series has clicked for people. no one like I've done other risograph prints with her, and zero of them is sold. Like I did one that was called Scary Movie Date Night. I think it's like such a cute illustration. It's on my Instagram. Um, and it's like this girl, and she's like grabbing her boyfriend, but her boyfriend looks like fucking Jason Voorhees, and he's got like a bowl of fucking like cheese puffs or some shit. It's a very fun illustration, and I have sold zero of them. It has been death. I put it up at every horror con. Everyone looks at it. Everyone is like, haha, but no one buys it. Everyone buys the kitchen series that I, designed for risograph before that. So it's
I think part of the issue is like you and I get excited about the process of risograph and how it looks.
Yes.
We look really close, look at all the dots, we're like, wow, look how cool that is. Average consumer doesn't care or give a shit. They just see it as the image, not as the process.
No, they can't. It doesn't mean a damn thing to them. And it was definitely a process for me to learn those things, because my whole introduction to risograph was at Heroes Con. I met Ryan Cecil Smith and Nat Anderson there, and they were both doing risograph stuff. Like, they were some of the fucking like earliest pioneers I know doing it in the United States. This was like fully a decade ago, I would bet. And like Nat Anderson is like a massive name in the fucking like risograph scene now. And they're just, I don't know, they were doing such cool shit. And I'm like a big print nerd even then. I'm like, wow, what the fuck is this? Tell me about this. And I would just geek out with them about it for like hours. And like, I don't know, guys like you and me aren't coming along every day. We're really unusual.
Yeah. But I mean, I can't justify getting more prints made until I sell at least another 40 of those.
No, so. I would chase whatever's going on with that series and why it's working, and that is kind of it'll probably be an all digital series, because my digital stuff moves, the canvas prints move. People like my digital stuff, and that is a big thing that makes me very sad. Is I want to do the alt print stuff. I want to do screen print. I want to do risograph. Like, these things are difficult, like when I go into Caitlin's place and print, like, it's taxing. Like, I'm running around the place and doing all this hard work to print myself. When I did my last screen print with Mike Toth, I spent 8 hours at least just doing the separation, because I did not want to deliver something substandard to him. I want Mike to have something easy to work with. So I bust my ass to make this stuff work. And, some of my best work doesn't sell because people don't get it. But people see the digital prints and they're like, wow, this pops. This is incredible. This is really special. And I'm like, it really ain't.
I know what you mean. Well, I want to take a little opportunity here to fully shout out the risograph effects and tools from Retro Supply. I've been using the hell out of those for Clip Studio Paint in this current tarot project I'm working on. So, like, for example, I'll get a photo, I will convert it to black and white, and then I will change. I think I showed you this before. In Clip Studio Paint, there's an easy menu item to just do convert brightness to opacity. And then, so it becomes an image where the black is opaque and then the whites are more translucent. And then I'll convert that whole thing into a mask and then do a risograph brush on the layer so that it becomes a risograph print, basically, of that image. Then I will do the whole thing again, but invert it first. So now the whites become the opaques, and then do that as another risograph layer with that mask with an alternate color. So the whole thing becomes a duotone risograph print based on a photo. And it looks so believable, amazingly. Definitely check out Retro Supply. I love their shit. I bought everything that they've made for Clip Studio Paint.
A lot of the ads whiz by. I am such a fucking hipster with this shit that, like, if I'm going to use an effect, usually I make it myself. But frankly, like, like frankly, you get a lot of shit done, and probably outsourcing something like that is probably would be better for me in the long run. But I don't know. I haven't had much interest personally. I'm sure it's worked out really beautiful, and you've made some. I mean, I don't know. Your shit works for me. Whenever I see it, I'm like, yeah,
Thanks.
that's good. You do a good job.
Well, I think it helps that
no shade from me.
their tools are made based on doing so there's like four main, and this is way talking inside shop, but they
That's okay.
did
Who the fuck else? What else are they listening for?
that's true. They did like a 10% opacity risograph print, just full color
Mm,
on white. Did a high quality scan of that and turned that into a brush, a fill brush.
mm.
Then they did a 20%, then a 30%, 40%, all the way up to 100. So now you've got 10 different brushes. Then they scanned ones that were wet, not fully dry. So they have wet versions of everything.
Yeah.
Then they did the pattern version of everything, so it's not just the random. And then they have a wet version of the random, and then they also have a line version. So there's wet and
They put the
dry,
work
10
in.
for each. Yeah. And it's all
Yeah.
based on real scans, so everything looks incredibly realistic.
Mm.
And then there's also a whole set of mistakes. Like you can do like misalignment, you could do a dry drum, and these are just little like stamps you put on the image, and it makes it look so realistic.
Mm.
Anyways.
I don't know. I just do all this stuff manually. And it's just the way that my brain works. I mean, I love everything that you're talking about. I love that they took the time to scan all that. I just, back in the day when I got the, wasn't the Nagel brushes. That's even older school. It's Kyle. Kyle, what's his name? Kyle Webster is his name.
I'm not
I
familiar.
bought his first brush pack and felt so let down. Everything just felt so average, and I'm just like, I could have made all of these things, but
Is that
there is a
Photoshop
lot
brushes?
to be said. Like, it's just convenient when you're painting to just like grab something and go, and not have to think about like, well, how do I make this or that? Like, it's not like he makes a poor product. It's just my stupid nerdy brain doesn't work that way. I'm like, why am I not artisanally crafting everything so I can paint this girl's butthole? You know?
Well, okay, so let's talk about those canvas prints. You said you have a partner. Where are you getting those made?
Oh, they're actually, I think they have an office in Clearwater. I used to think they were based out of Clearwater. They're based out of Miami, I think. And I won't put them over too much because they have unfortunately changed up their product line. Like, it's an okay product. If I'm giving away a trade, do you want me to tell you the name?
Yeah, if you want to. I mean, if you don't want to shout them out, you don't have to.
Well,
I've just gotten some really garbage canvas prints in the past, so I'm always curious to find a place that's not garbage.
I mean, I think, oh gosh, Canvas People I've used first, but they don't make it at a price point. They're like, I think their quality is higher, but they don't really make it at a price point that is incredibly viable. Canvas Discount is the one that I was discussing that's in Miami, and they make a reasonably good product.
Do you have to order in
The
bulk or no?
unfortunate thing is they've started offering a bunch of sizes that were really good sellers for me. They stopped offering them in
Oh.
the the thicker, like 1.5 gallery frame size, which I just think is 100% nicer than like the thin, like 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch ones. Those just feel so cheap to me. It feels very much like I want my art to feel like museum quality as much as I can provide to people, as opposed to something that feels like it should be like paint smeared on a canvas in a small shitty cafe. Even if it is in a small shitty cafe.
So if you're say if I walk into your booth, or no, I guess a better way to put it, say you've had a good sales market event, whatever. Looking at the pie chart of sales within that, what percentage would you say are canvas prints? What would you say are original drawings? Or what would you say are other products? Like, what are the items in that pie chart, and which ones are doing best for you?
I mean, canvas prints are a relatively newer item for me. And I like doing them because they have crept up to being about a third. Um, and
Hmm.
maybe the other third is stickers. And then the remaining third is split amongst everything else, which is like
Interesting.
screen print posters and risographs and anything else.
Wow.
I'm trying to introduce new stuff without kind of destroying my pricing structure.
Hmm.
Because it shows I try and keep things as simple as possible, to where it's not like, well, this is $1 and this is $2 and this is $3 and this is like, and on and on and on and on and on. Like, to have a million different price points is just confusing for people. So it's like boom, 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 boom. You need to be able to say it in like a second.
Yeah, I feel like I've actually stopped selling stickers. I'll bring them every now
Yeah.
and then, but I don't feel like they're worth the space they take on my table at the
I
booth.
mean, I would not break even. I would not
Without
do
them.
well. I mean, and it might even be more than a third. It might be fully half of my profit
Mm.
being stickers, because I get great margin. People love, like, and most of the people that are wanting art from me, they want something inexpensive, but like, and then they'll buy like $80 worth of fucking stickers.
Wow.
People love my shit on stickers, and like, I think it even like it harkens to that tradition, like I think about like 90s skate graphics and
That's true.
like, like really crazy offensive pop art like that. It lends itself to that kind of tacky product. So it's like I really love designing around the sticker shape. You have to, things need to be condensed. They need to fit into like a certain shape.
Mhm.
Like, if you're gonna draw a character, like, she can't be like standing straight up tall. Like, maybe she's crouching, maybe she's bending over, maybe she's pulled her knees up to her chest or whatever, just to sort of condense things. One of the reasons people do chibis, it just works
Mhm.
on that form factor. Um, but it's an interesting like medium to work around in terms of a product. But people love me for it. I would not want to do markets without it. And oh gosh, it's one of the things that has definitely, it's made it abundantly clear to me that, the posters and the rezos are nowhere near as viable, just because people don't see the value. I'm not going to MondoCon and selling out of an edition of 1,000. Like, I just, I feel like I can make a screen print that's as good as anything in there, but you can be the most talented person in the world and no one will give a shit. And that's just the way the world works.
So I've never heard of MondoCon, but I've
Mm,
always kind of thought that my business had inadvertently started copying Mondo
mm.
publishing. I didn't know they had a convention. I need to get in on that
I don't know if they still do. Um,
because I know they got sold to, or they sold
oh
to
yeah, I
Funko Pop, and then
I did
Funko
forget
Pop
about
just
that.
got
I
bought
feel like
by someone.
yeah, I wouldn't even. I feel like God, I went to MondoCon in like 2017 and spent entirely too much money on stuff and rubbed elbows. Like, I met Drew Struzan and Becky Cloonan and all like, I just saw some of the coolest screen print stuff that I've ever seen in my life. And I've met screen printers from all over the world, some of the best in the world. And like Mondo, the people that were doing Mondo in 2017 were absolutely outstanding. Like, the artists that I worked with and the people that I met, like, I met people from Valhalla and Cyclops. I'm trying to remember. There's another printer I bought some test prints from that I have sitting right over there.
Hmm.
that I'm not hanging up because my house needs electrical work and I don't want to hang up stuff multiple times. Um,
Well, I mean, speaking of Nashville, there's a big history of screen printing there with the Hat Show prints. That
mm,
anytime you go see a concert at the Ryman, the Hat Show
yes.
place is going to make some like limited edition prints for that show. I've got one
I very
from when I
much
saw
want to make the
Garbage.
pilgrimage to Hatch. They
Yeah.
were not on my radar as a young printmaker, but that's definitely my loss.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
I've got
very
one from when I
much
saw
in keeping.
Garbage there. I
Mhm.
saw Fiona Apple at the Ryman, and those they
Right.
only had like 100 prints. So they sold out immediately.
Oh, of
But
course. Why
but the
wouldn't they?
Garbage print I have is great. Hanging right over there. And I got
Mm.
one from Tristan, another singer I saw there. So, uh, so like I know a lot of people who like their businesses are built around stickers, and it does really well for them.
Yeah.
Um, so I imagine it is taking up a big amount of real estate in your booth space. You have probably like an elaborate display, or do you have
No.
them in a book? How do you show them off?
No. I tried those things and I don't like them. This is definitely giving the game away, but I feel like that's probably part of what we're doing here is we're trying to share information for people. But
Yeah.
I like people to be able to see it directly. I just spread shit out on my table.
Mm.
I liked it because I did it on accident, like punk rock style. Um, One time I was doing a show and people really responded to it.
I know people like
People
to
can,
dig, so yeah.
yes. Well, I mean, and that's part of it too. And I mean, the time of post COVID, maybe it's not the best, but people want to put their stupid little fingies on everything,
Hmm.
and that's what they say in psychology is, like the psychology of buying or whatever. Like, don't, it's not going to be in your fucking psychology 101 textbook or whatever. But like, if someone can hold something, if they can touch something, they can imagine themselves owning it.
Mm.
And I like to let people touch the stickers and pick them up and look through them, just because it gives them that tangible connection to the product. It's less abstract to them at that point. But like
Right.
people just like to go and find something that speaks to them. Like I honestly, like I'm gonna reprint my stickers and things, but I don't even care about what's a bestseller because usually if something that is my hottest seller, like if it's sold out, someone's going to find something else weird that I did and they're going to laugh and they're going to like it and they're going to be like, "Oh my god, she's so cute. She's so fun. She's got big titties." You know? Like they're going to say that and they're going to buy that one, Like generally people enjoy me and the interaction with me, and they're ready to, they want something, you know?
So when it comes to selling those stickers, do you track which ones it's like specifically which designs sell?
No, not
Okay,
anymore.
yeah.
No,
Yeah, for me I didn't either.
it
I
doesn't
just
even enter into me. Like I go through and I think, well, I need to reorder these. Like these did
okay.
fairly well, but like in general, you get a sense. Like I'm okay playing it off the cuff. Like, well, this one's a dog. This one's whatever. And if it never gets reordered, you just kind of know. But no, I'm not keeping tight inventory. Like I don't have the brain space to keep up with everything. Like I can't be an artist and a madman and an accountant, you know. Like I have to lean into those other things, and let the passion push me around. Um, Even doing something that makes a lot of sense, to track what is selling the most and have that data. It
Mhm.
would fry my brain. It would stress me out so much. So I just do what I can and I observe what I can and I have a good sense of it. I know what's sold out.
So when it comes to like your business, do you have only short-term goals or do you have long-term goals? And if so, do you try and plan out steps to get to those long-term goals?
That's a good question. I feel like it's tough because for the longest time, the goals have been very small, you know?
Hmm.
It's just like, I want to do a Heroes Con. Like I did my first one in 2016. I'm like, I just want to do a Heroes Con. So I'm going to get these posters together. I'm going to do this and I'm going to go. I'm going to try it. And then it's like, well, I want to do better. I want to do more shows. And it's been granularly building on stuff. And really, the past couple of years have been just about surviving. Like, like let's get over these health hurdles. Let's, let's buy this house. Let's fucking move closer to family. And right now, small goals are, finding new art community and finding new local shows to do and building that network and kind of building that bridge between Atlanta and St. Pete a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, long term goals, like they always are abstract for me. You know, a lot of them have come true. A lot of the older ones have come true.
Hmm.
Um, but like, it's the things that we talked about, traveling to sell art, and building the brand to be bigger. Because in a lot of ways, the brand that I'm making is a big part of future proofing myself and some sort of legacy, some sort of retirement.
Yeah.
um at least that's
Well,
the way that I look at it.
yeah. So I mean, my hypothetical super long term goal is I sell the
Mm.
company to someone else,
Yeah, of
and
course.
all the IP I've generated within it. So that's one of the reasons why I don't put my name Nick Ribera on any of the shit I make.
Mm.
Um, but your business name is Eric Z Goodnight, right?
Well, I do have the Meet Cute brand, and I
Okay.
don't know that I'm fully divorcing me from it. um I do kind of go back and forth about that. Like it is, the more that I go on, the more I work on it, the more I'm interested in only doing meet cute stuff. And I want to create a kind of lifestyle brand around it. To make like I want to make like t-shirts and panties and fucking shit,
Hmm.
just because like I think it's fun and people will vibe with it at a show. But like, I don't know. Ultimately, people are buying me, and I try and go to a show. I try and be in character. I try and give people a good experience. I don't know that I'll ever fully be divorced from it, but like, it is conceivable that like if I sold it as an IP, that like someone could do their version of it, or I could start collaborating with people and have other
Hmm.
people do their meet cute girls.
Right.
Like that would be a really fun project. Are you available, Nick?
Sure.
It
Well, so like, I
would
mean,
be really fun.
I know a lot of your stuff though is consistent in style. With me, I
It
try
is
to do a different
completely by
style for every
accident, let me tell
project.
you.
Well, I mean,
I don't
because
even try.
I try to do every project, make it look completely different from the last. I
Mm,
then try to promote the idea that Chain Assembly is a bunch of people, that it
yeah.
already is an organization, it already is bigger than it actually is. But it's just
Mm.
me. So that's, I guess, me planning for the future, even though I didn't sit
Hmm.
down and say, this is what I'm going to do. This is just things that I feel comfortable doing. And I feel like
Yeah.
they're all in service of some ultimate goal that may or may not occur. But yes, I would love to do some meet cute stuff with you.
I think it'd be super fun, even if it was, just for funsies. It would be really neat to see it. I mean, I was thinking, I was driving somewhere or another, and I just started in my head naming all of my cool artist friends and thinking, oh my God, I would love to fucking collaborate. And don't even have to think hard. And I named like 25 people, you
Yeah.
know? And it would be amazing to herd cats and make something like that happen, like a great big meet cute collaboration. I think it'd be tremendously fun. I mean, and what black hearted person doesn't like drawing boobies? Like really sad people, you know.
I guess so. So let's speaking of goals, tell me about these two Kickstarters you got coming up this year that you're planning on this year.
Oh man, I'm really excited about both of them. Like I've done, I might work back into one now that I looked at it again. I'm like, oh, I can totally cram a whole bunch more detail into this. Like it
Nothing's
almost,
ready until it's gone to print. So
it's so true. It's so true. It would be such an insane thing to work on it more, but it looks really nice. It's a set of two things um, that kind of continue on the poster brand that I did before. I mean, and it's like that. Those posters, like I sold enough to pay for the edition and then some,
mm-hmm.
and this will also probably do well enough. But like, it would still be nice to sell out of them. It would be nice to have that. But look, like whatever that the Kickstarter is about producing that initial order and maybe some other merch. Like I have a coloring book that I started that I did proofs for that I've just sort of backburnered, and that will probably be thrown in the mix, either as a first stretch goal or as a second one, with the final poster being like the last one. But the thing that I'm the most hype about is I've been working with some sculptors and printers and some people that do like casting and toy making, and I have a whole line of toys
Oh wow.
that I've started on. I've done the first one. I just need to, I need to do the photography for the Kickstarter and make a really killer video. Because you need to have a good presentation for that. It needs to be really thought out and well presented, and having some nice high quality video shot of the toys is going to
Mm-hmm.
justify the unfortunately very expensive price tag, because all that stuff's mega expensive these days.
Mm.
Um, but that's the second one. That's the one I'm the most excited about. But that's gonna have like I have to be in the $10,000 to $20,000 range in terms of sales on that one. The first one
Mm.
I think I can get in a walk. The second one, I don't know. I really need to go hard on it. Um, like people have seen the prototypes. People like them. Um, if you met Plastic Pizza, they really liked the toys that I had made when I showed them to them, and we had kind of talked here and there about doing collaborations and maybe them um, helping me sell them. But I'm I'm excited about bringing this stuff to life, and certainly about building more of a brand around that, because I feel like the Meet Cute brand would really lend itself to it being uh, a whole line of funny little fun, silly, horny like
Mhm.
sculptures and toys. I would be excited to bring that into the world.
So with these projects, do you already have anything set up on Kickstarter yet, or BackerKit launch, or anything like that?
I have started the poster one, as in
Mm-hmm.
I've actually started uh, putting it together. So we're talking about like maybe another week or two for me
Mm-hmm.
to get all the graphics together and record a video, something like that, and then however long it's going to take them to approve it, and then probably like a 30-day campaign. I feel like it's pretty standard. Although, like, I don't know, like it is one of those things where you're already hyping people up. That
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the first goal will be met relatively soon. At least I hope so. I don't want it to go to like day 29 to
Right.
get the first goal, but I don't
Yeah.
think
Well,
that'll be the case. I think people
well, one
will
thing I always
show
tell
up for
people
me
is like you've got to hit that funding goal in the first 48 hours, because
for sure.
nobody will pledge to a project that's not already funded. So,
That is the way that it works. Is you get
yeah.
everything at first and then everything at the end,
Mm-hmm.
and like it's just dead air in the middle.
And so I don't know if this will be assistant to you when it comes to the toy making project you're working on, but for me, my first step always is I create the project on Kickstarter, even if there's nothing in it. I just give it a short title, even though if I'm going to change the title later, because that short title becomes the domain. So like it might just be Giallo instead of Tadoki Giallo, a tarot deck inspired by Italian horror films or whatever. I give it a short title, create it on Kickstarter. Then I head over to BackerKit Launch and create a landing page. So have you used BackerKit Launch before?
I'm not. I'm going to Google that right now.
So BackerKit is a whole bunch of tools for crowdfunding, but Launch specifically is great. It's a landing page that you can put multiple images and text and graphics in, and it asks people to put in their email address. So it just generates, it's just a lead generating tool. After they put in their email address, it then takes them to the Kickstarter page if it's live or if it's at the pre-launch page. But the most important thing is you can see who has made it to that launch page. So you can run ads pointing to the launch page and you'll see how successful those ads were. And then it has a whole set of like email templates and gives you a timeline on like, we recommend sending this email a week before your project launches. We recommend sending this email a day before it launches. And it has some text that it can fill in automatically, but it really helps easily control all of the lead gen leading up to the Kickstarter project. So that by the time your Kickstarter project goes live, you hopefully have 200 or so people who have clicked notify me on launch. So, because on the Kickstarter
you've definitely
page,
become an old hand at these Kickstarters. Like you've become a definite pro at it. So, like I would certainly for the toy Kickstarter, I could definitely use a dude like you in my corner.
Well,
so I might be sliding into your DMs there. You don't know.
I recommend you having like that. You should be collecting leads now, even if you're not launching this till October. Okay. There's no reason to not have that page up because it's searchable in Google. So if someone's like cool designer toys, you might show up. They'll read whatever information you have, even though you're probably going to change it a week later. And then they'll be like, oh yeah, why not? I'll put my email address in here. And that's just one more person who you can reach out to when you do have more information about the project.
That's really smart. I like it.
Yeah. And then you should probably even also just have, so one thing I always do too is I'll create a subdomain for my website that I can choose where it redirects to. So during all the lead up, it redirects to that BackerKit launch page. When the Kickstarter's live, I change it to redirect to the Kickstarter.
Redirect to the Kickstarter when you're,
Yeah. So that way you can have like business cards you hand out. Like if you did, one thing I do a lot too, probably have some here, is whatever, I'll grab them later. But like Moo, I don't know if you've used Moo, but they can print business cards with different images on each one. I'll put a QR code to that subdomain for my website on it. So I could be like, oh, here's a new project I'm working on. If you're interested, hit this QR code and there'll be a different image on the back so that I can let them pick one and that'll help them remember it. But anyways, that's a lot.
I dig it. No, smart.
So if people want to fuck with some of your art,
you're the pro at it.
Thank you.
Good advice.
I mean, I'm not quitting my day job yet, but each project I learn a little bit more. So if people want to fuck with your shit and see your art, the best places to do that are your Easy Goodnight on Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky, and you have a Facebook page too that I'm gonna put in the show notes too, right?
Mm-hmm. I mostly posted that Facebook group into. I mean, I need to get back on top of Instagram, but just like social media feels so bad lately. I just hate the meta company so much. But I would old man grouse about it all day. You have to stop me.
And so, do you have a website?
Yes, I have two. I need to kind of reinvent them. They date back to the fucking like George W. Bush era. Not in their current form, but the domains do, and they're not doing me any favors. Probably the most relevant one is ericzgoodnight.com. But I would kind of like, I'm studying Linux system administration right now, and I think a fun project would be to host my own website and build a CMS in it and like, like host forums and do all this stuff. So I kind of want to roll all this stuff in together, but it's like it's almost more of a distraction than probably what I should be doing, is focusing on all this stuff and seeing that the shows that I'm prepping for are going to be a success.
Mm. Well, I mean, if you needed to put something together in a hurry, Adobe Portfolio is a pretty easy way to throw up a good website.
Legit.
I use it just for my so my chainassembly.com, which is my main online store, that is done through Shopify. But I have nickribera.com, and that's basically my online portfolio to solicit commissions. And that is just done through Adobe Portfolio, because you could really easily just choose like a gallery in Lightroom, and it instantly uploads to the portfolio website. So that way I can manage all the files that are in that gallery on my local machine, and it just reflects on the site. All right. Well, with all that in mind, Eric, it was great catching up with you. Hopefully we get to work together again soon on that Meet Cute thing.
It was a pleasure.
Yeah. And it's been wonderful talking to you, hearing about your journey and kind of like how your business is structured. So thanks again for taking some time to join me on the podcast.
I greatly appreciate you, Nick. It's been a blast.
Thank you.
Are you ready to paint your own canvas in the real estate world as a homeowner? It's Leslie Haas from Realty One Group Sunshine, and I'm here to talk home equity, your masterpiece in the housing market. Imagine owning a piece of property that's not just a place to call yours, but also an investment opportunity. It's time to take that brush and start creating equity in your dream home. With interest rates on the verge of dropping, get ahead of the curve and secure your artistic haven before the next rush. Whether you're a first-time homebuyer or upgrading your studio, let's sketch out your home ownership dreams together. To learn more, visit tampabayhomesforsale.realestate.